This is the cranial cavity. Cranial cavity divided into anterior cranial fossa, middle cranial fossa, and posterior cranial fossa. See, from here to here, this is anterior cranial fossa. From here to here, this is middle cranial fossa. This is posterior cranial fossa. This is anterior cranial fossa. This anterior cranial fossa, mostly it is formed by orbital plate of frontal bone. This is orbital plate of frontal bone. Okay, orbital plate of frontal bone, it forms a roof for the orbit. Is it? When you break this orbital plate of frontal bone, usually when you are dissecting the orbit, you will break this. When you break this orbital plate of frontal bone, we can reach orbit. Is it? So this is orbital plate of frontal bone. Then here there is cribriform plate of ethmoid. This is cribriform plate of ethmoid. Cribriform plate of ethmoid means what? It contains so many pores. If there is so many pores, that appearance is cribriform. Cribriform means it's like a sieve-like. You know the sieve, right? So it is sieve-like structure. So this plate, what we are calling cribriform plate of ethmoid. Then in the middle, you can see projection. This projection, what we are calling crista galli. Crista galli. So why we are calling this as crista galli? Have you seen any time over the head of the hen or cock? There will be red color projection will be there. That red color projection, it is appearing like that. It will be appearing like that. That's what they have given name as crista galli. So this is crista galli. Crista galli will give attachment to the falx cervi. Right? And what for these so many foramens are there here? Here so many foramens are there in the cribriform plate of ethmoid. Why? This is connected with the nasal cavity. It is connected with nasal cavity. So in the nasal cavity, there will be olfactory receptors will be there. Those olfactory receptors, that means processes of those olfactory receptors passes through the cribriform plate of ethmoid and they will be reaching to the olfactory bulb. That's why there are so many pores. Understanding? Nose, it's one of the sense organ. Is it? So olfactory sensation will be received by the olfactory receptors which are present in the roof of the nasal cavity. Right? That receptor, that means processes of those receptors will be passing through the cribriform plate. Those receptors will be end in the olfactory bulb. Then this is lesser wing of sphenoid. There is a process. What is this process? Anterior crinoid processes. These are anterior crinoid processes. Just behind the cribriform plate of ethmoid, this part of the bone, what we are calling jugum sphenoideum. This is sphenoid bone. Okay. In between the two lesser wings of sphenoid, here this bony part, what we are calling jugum sphenoideum. The literal meaning of jugum means, you know the bull part? Bulls. There will be two bulls on either side. They keep one wooden thing over it. It is resembles like that. So that's what they given as jugum sphenoideum. These two are the anterior crinoid process. Then just middle to the anterior crinoid process, here one foramen is there. This foramen. Actually it is a canal. It is entering into the orbit. So what is that? Optic canal. This is canal what we are calling optic canal. Through the optic nerve will be coming or reaching to the middle cranial fossa. Right? So this is optic canal. Through this optic canal, optic nerve and ophthalmic artery are passing. Then one fossa is present here. Here there is a fossa. This fossa, what we are calling sella turcica. What is it? Sella turcica. Okay. This is sella turcica. What are the boundaries of sella turcica? This is one bony projection is there here. This is tuberculum sella. This bony projection, what we are calling tuberculum sella. And posteriorly, this is dorsum sella. Anteriorly tuberculum sella, posteriorly dorsum sella. Right? And this is a fossa. This fossa, what we are calling pituitary fossa, we can also call it as sella turcica. Why we are calling it as sella turcica? Anyone knows? Don't know? Okay. It is looking like Turkish saddle. Previous days there was kings. Kings used to sit on chair, what we call simhasan something, right? So in the Turkey, that king's chair was like this. That means it seems to be like this. That's what this fossa, what we are calling sella turcica. There in that saddle, king of Turkey was used to sit, but here king of endocrine system. pituitary gland will sit over here. Is it? So this is sella turcica, right? Then on either side of sella turcica, you can found here on either side there will be two cavernous sinuses. Here one cavernous sinus, here another cavernous sinus. Then these are anterior clinoid process. These are posterior clinoid process. Anterior clinoid process. These are posterior clinoid process. Sella turcica, it is part of the middle cranial fossa. Then if you coming to the middle cranial fossa on either side, this side and this side, mostly it is formed by the greater wing of sphenoid and also petrous part of temporal bone, and small portion is formed by the parietal bone also. But mainly greater wing of sphenoid and petrous part of temporal bone, and in the middle part body of sphenoid, right? Then what are the structures which are present here, or what are the different foramens which are present here, and what are the structures passing through it? We will see now. Is it visible? Okay. See, this is the foramen, retard shaped foramen. It is communicating the middle cranial fossa to the orbit. So what is that? There will be two fissures will be there, superior orbital fissure and inferior orbital fissure. Now probe is in superior orbital fissure, right? So what are the structures passing through the superior orbital fissure? This is also important, 3 marks question. Structures passing through the superior orbital fissure. Actually superior orbital fissure will be divided into 3 parts: lateral part, middle part and medial part. What are the structures passing through it? Briefly I will tell. I will not go in detail because so many things are there to discuss. 3 branches of ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve: lacrimal nerve, nasociliary and frontal. Then 2 divisions of third cranial nerve. Third cranial nerve having 2 divisions, upper division and lower division. That means oculomotor nerve. Then 4th cranial nerve, trochlear. 6th cranial nerve, abducens nerve. Then recurrent meningeal branch. Recurrent meningeal branch, which is communicating the middle meningeal artery and the lacrimal artery. So otherwise you remember the recurrent meningeal artery and superior ophthalmic vein. So these are the structures passing through the superior orbital fissure. Recollect. V1. V1 means what? Ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve. Okay. 3rd cranial nerve, 4th cranial nerve, 6th cranial nerve. Then superior ophthalmic vein, recurrent meningeal artery, which is communicating the lacrimal artery and middle meningeal artery. These are the structures passing through the superior orbital fissure. Then here just behind this, here you can see one foramen. Set. So this foramen is foramen ovale. It is oval shaped foramen. This foramen what we are calling foramen ovale. What are the structures passing through the foramen ovale? Male structures. M-A-L-E. I never mean that male structures passing through this foramen only in males. Okay? It's a mnemonic. Male means M for mandibular nerve, A for accessory meningeal artery, L for lesser petrosal nerve, E for emissary vein. So these are the structures passing through the foramen ovale. Listen. Mandibular nerve, accessory meningeal artery, lesser petrosal nerve, emissary vein. So these are the structures passed through the foramen ovale. Right? Then one foramen is entering into the pterygopalatine fossa. See this. This is the foramen. It is communicating the middle cranial fossa with the pterygopalatine fossa. By this itself you should get idea what is the structure passing through it. What is that? It is going to the pterygopalatine fossa. In the pterygopalatine fossa there is pterygopalatine ganglion. So what is the nerve which is giving attachment to the pterygopalatine ganglion? Maxillary nerve. So maxillary nerve passes through this foramen. What is this foramen called? Foramen rotundum. This foramen what we are calling? Foramen rotundum. Okay. Then here one more foramen is there. This is the foramen. This foramen what we are calling? Foramen lacerum. This is foramen lacerum. This is the foramen. Okay. This foramen is foramen lacerum. There is no structure. It is passing through and through the foramen lacerum except emissary veins. Because in the living individuals, this foramen lacerum is covered by cartilage. But upper part of the foramen gives passes for the carotid artery. Which carotid artery? Internal carotid artery. That means imagine this is the foramen. Okay. no structure passing through and through it. Here there is one more foramen, that is carotid canal. Through the carotid canal, internal carotid artery will be passing, then it pierces the posterior wall of the foramen lacerum, then it enters into the upper part of the foramen lacerum. From here it comes up. So only upper part is giving passage. There is no through and through passage. Getting a point? And one more thing, in the anterior wall there is one foramen. It is communicating the foramen lacerum to the pterygopalatine fossa. That canal what we are calling pterygoid canal. So one nerve, what is that nerve? Greater petrosal nerve. Greater petrosal nerve jumping to the anterior wall. Then it passes through the pterygoid canal. Of course, in the pterygoid canal, greater petrosal nerve and also deep petrosal nerve. Greater petrosal is carrying the parasympathetic impulses. That means parasympathetic impulses will be carried by the greater petrosal. Then there will be deep petrosal. Deep petrosal is carrying the sympathetic nerves. Both nerves together, what we are calling medians nerve or nerve to pterygoid canal. Medians nerve or nerve to pterygoid canal. Right? So now you must be getting idea. There is no structure passing through and through the foramen lacerum except ABCD. Okay? Clear? But upper part of the foramen will be giving passes for the internal carotid artery. Clear? So that is foramen lacerum. Right? Then here you can see the impression for the middle meningeal artery. So if you are seeing the impression for the middle meningeal artery means here somewhere there is a foramen. This foramen here. It is a very small foramen. If you observe here, this foramen is present over the spine of the sphenoid. That's what that foramen what we are calling foramen spinosum. Here, this is foramen spinosum. Right? So what is the structure passing through the foramen spinosum? Middle meningeal artery. Very good. So through the foramen spinosum, middle meningeal artery is passing. Any other structure is passing through it? Any other structure? Meningeal branch. Meningeal branch of mandibular nerve. Okay? Mandibular nerve trunk will give one branch that comes back and passing through the foramen spinosum and reaching to the middle cranial fossa to supply the meninges. So that is meningeal branch or recurrent branch of mandibular nerve. Clear? That's what that nerve we can also call as nervus spinosum. Okay? Recurrent meningeal branch we can also call as nervus spinosum. That is about middle cranial fossa. In the middle cranial fossa, what will be accommodated? Temporal lobes. Temporal lobes of cerebrum will be accommodated. In the anterior cranial fossa, two frontal lobes of cerebrum is located here. Right? Then this is posterior cranial fossa. And what is this bone? The bone which is separating the middle cranial fossa and posterior cranial fossa. This bone, what we are calling petrous part of temporal bone. What is it? Petrous part of temporal bone. What is the literal meaning of petrous? What is literal meaning of petrous? Okay. What is petrol? Petrol. It's a fuel. Okay. Why they given the name like that? Petrol. Actually, petrol, it's not petrol. Now it became petrol. Before they used to call it a petro oil. Petro oil. Oil which is derived from the stone. Okay. Petro oil. When we are going on pronouncing, petro oil became petrol. So, petro means stone. This is the part of the temporal bone. It is hard like stone. That's what this part of the bone what we are calling petrous part of temporal bone. This is petrous part of temporal bone. Right? Then, what are the different major foramens which are present in the cranial cavity? That means posterior cranial cavity. We will see. Then I will tell you about the different attachments. Okay? Let me tell the bony features. Here, this is petrous part of temporal bone. Then, if you see in the middle, here there is a fusion of occipital bone. See, this is occipital bone. This is, what is this? Sphenoid bone, body of sphenoid. Here occipital bone, this is body of sphenoid. Both will be fused and forms a sloping surface of the bone. Is it or not? This sloping surface of the bone, what we are calling clivus. What is this? Clivus. This is clivus. Right? So this is clivus. Then, if you observe on either side of foramen magnum, what is this foramen called? This is foramen magnum. On either side of the foramen magnum, you can see one foramen on either side. This is one foramen and this is another foramen. This foramen what we are calling jugular foramen. Here, this is jugular foramen. what are the structures passing through the jugular foramen? Since as name implies, internal jugular vein is passing. Internal jugular vein. And 9, 10, 11th cranial nerves. 9, 10, 11 cranial nerves. So, jugular foramen, if they ask, it's very easy. You can say internal jugular vein, then 9, 10, 11 cranial nerves. Clear? Then, if you observe here, into the petrous part of temporal bone, there is one foramen is entering. Is it clear? This one? Clear. Okay. This foramen, what we are calling internal acoustic meatus. What is it? Internal acoustic meatus. This is external acoustic meatus. You must be knowing this. Then this is what? Internal acoustic meatus. Through the internal acoustic meatus, what are the structures passing? Facial nerve, epicranial nerve, then labyrinthine artery. Labyrinthine artery. So these are the structures passing through it. So what are the structures passing through the internal acoustic meatus? There will be facial nerve, vestibulocochlear nerve, labyrinthine artery. Then this is the biggest foramen. You must be aware of it. This is biggest foramen. This is foramen magnum. What are the structures which are passing through the foramen magnum? Very good. Lower part of the medulla oblongata along with its meninges. Remaining all meninges which are surrounding dura mater, arachnoid mater, pia mater, and spinal vessels. Spinal arteries also will be passing. So then apical ligament of dens, membrana pictoria. Apical ligament of dens, membrana pictoria. Then vertebral arteries. Vertebral arteries. So these are the main structures which are passing through the foramen magnum. Recollect. Some people they say spinal cord, but if you wanted to say exactly, it's the lower part of medulla oblongata. Lower part of medulla oblongata along its meninges. Okay. Then spinal arteries, vertebral arteries. Then apical ligament of dens, membrana pictoria. Okay. So these are the structures which are passing through the foramen magnum. Right. Then if you observe in the posterior most part, here you can observe one crest. This crest what we are calling internal occipital crest. Here you can see the external occipital crest outside. This is external occipital crest. Inside here crest is there. This crest what we are calling internal occipital crest. And here tubercle also is there. As here external occipital protuberance. Here internal occipital protuberance. This is internal occipital protuberance and this is external occipital protuberance. This is external occipital crest. This is internal occipital crest. Okay. So within this posterior cranial fossa, what is located? Brainstem along with cerebellum. Then what about occipital lobe of cerebrum? It will be resting over the tentorium cerebellum. That we will discuss. If you observe one more foramen here, is it visible? Okay, see this. This foramen, this is anterior candalar foramen or hypoglossal foramen. 9th, 10th, 11th cranial nerves are passing through what? Passing through the jugular foramen. And there is a last cranial nerve is there, hypoglossal nerve. Okay. So this hypoglossal nerve will be passing through this foramen. What is this foramen? Hypoglossal foramen or anterior candalar foramen. Anterior candalar foramen. Because it leads to this foramen. Actually anterior to the condyle, this is the foramen. This is anterior candalar foramen. From here it comes up. Right? So this is about the cranial cavity. Osteology of cranial cavity. Clear? In brief.